The Business Oddcast.
Hello and welcome to the Business Oddcast. This is episode 23. I'm your host, Stuart Morrison, and this is my fantastic, able co-host.
The very ably able Hannah Logan.
Hello.
No pressure, Hannah Logan.
No pressure. Hey, look, we're episode 23. We are steaming into the 2026.
We're on fire.
Certainly
in
are.
a good way.
So, yes, don't set off any sprinklers.
Yeah, don't do this at home.
So, Hannah, what is the topic of the week?
The topic of the week is being self-employed without wearing a mask. What does that mean? I hear you ask, Stu.
Oh.
You said that without moving your mouth. Sorry about that.
But where is this wearing a mask? Right.
Being self-employed, I think often, or certainly I can relate to this, it comes with an unspoken pressure to appear competent, confident, on top of things at all times, especially when your work is tied closely to your identity. And so I think for a lot of neurodiverse people, that pressure can turn into masking. And we touched on this a bit in our episode last week. But there's that pressure to hold it together professionally, to manage your sort of performing capabilities, absorbing any kind of uncertainty that you're going through, but also then sometimes carrying that same mask home into our closest relationships, so our friends and our family, the people closest to us. Often our family kind of see the surface version, so they get the whole kind of, Hannah or Stu's doing fine. They certainly do with me. I don't really share an awful lot. Sorry, I'm not going to turn this into a therapy session. My name's Hannah and I'm going to share.
I was going to say, that's all this has been up to now.
It's literally a therapy session. So, often they think, or they certainly do with me, that everything's fine, but underneath, actually, I'm holding that, or we can hold that stress, fear, overload, and all that kind of emotional processing that can go with that release. So I think this episode at its core is about sort of authentic connection with those nearest and dearest to us when we're self-employed, but also giving you some help really on how to show up as yourself, even when that version is sort of uncertain, tired, human, and to ensure that you feel supported whilst you do that. Because relationships shouldn't require you to keep performing once your work day is finished. If that makes sense.
No, I'm processing in real time, definitely. I think we need to sort of open this up a little because the masking thing is really interesting. Once you've noticed it in yourself, once it's been pointed out and you realise, oh my God, that's why I feel so inauthentic all the time. Feel like I'm wearing a mask. It is literally because I'm slapping this socially acceptable front end on this very neurodiverse back end. And then you layer on top of that, Mr. Competent Business Person or Ms. Competent Business Person. How does that turn up? And then if there's stresses around money, there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of emotion around money, especially for neurodiverse people with impulse control and 70% unemployed. Money is a big thing. So it's multiple layers there to peel back.
Have you ever had this, Stuart? You might well have done. Sometimes I'll do something, or very often I'll do something in my business world, and somebody will feed back and say, "Oh my God, that's amazing! I love that bit of whatever you did, strategy, whatever it is." And for a moment I go like, "Oh, Business Hannah's really good at this." Like Business Hannah is a different person. Or I'm like, "Oh," like a bit of an imposter syndrome sneaking in there, like, "Ooh, wow, I did a good thing." Like it's a surprise to me, but actually I've had many years of doing a good thing at work, or even in when I was employed and self-employment now. So,
well, I'll share with you. I do have future Stu and past Stu, and I do thank them, and to sometimes actively say, "Well, good luck to future Stu because he's got to deal with that." But have you ever had this where you've looked at a piece of work and gone, this is an amazing piece of work, and you've read it back or you've looked at it back and you can't quite believe that it was you that did it?
Yes. I high-five myself.
Another person has done this thing and you're like, that's incredible.
Well done, whichever version of me that was. And you know what I like in this, or what I assume in those moments? So often my finest work has come out of a hyperfocus. And my hyperfocus is a little bit like, I imagine if it was a video, my eyes would roll back and I'd change into a different colour or something weird, or like a different a kind of filter would come over me. And then I just go into like power mode and then I wake back up.
Start glowing.
Yeah, and then I wake back up like, ooh, with like less, I'm all a bit crinkly where I've sucked all my energy. And then I look at what I've created and I'm like, ooh, that's some good stuff there. And so often when I get that kind of, oh, well done, Hannah, a little pat on the shoulder, it's because Hyper Hannah has just gone.
I like Hyper
Hannah. She doesn't, she wears some lycra. It's not ideal.
Fully lycra'd up.
It's very pink and shiny. So actually, often when I get the real kind of, I do get it with I've had it with some of the blogs that we do on the Oddcast, as have you must have done.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I loved that one. And I read it again and I'm like, ooh, that was good. That's a good one, Hannah. Well, like, that is a really good... And I'm not amazed because I know that I am good at writing and it's okay, listeners, to appreciate the things you're good at and to say it out loud. It's really important. I've learnt that. But actually, yeah, I do just look at it and be like,
But you see, that ties in nicely with the capacity, the capability and the professionalism. Because when you doubt yourself to your core. It's not just like, ooh, today is a little bit of wobbly doubt. It's like, no, I am the worst at this. Why does anybody trust me with it?
Yeah.
And sometimes when I have that impetus, I reserve the right to change my mind. And just put a little bookmark in of like, yeah, you might be right, but reserve your right to change your mind. And that's why I say I'm an unreliable witness. Because you could ask me something one day and depending on how hard I need to mask or be professional outside the house, when I come back in, it takes a moment to get rid of it. It takes the older I get, the easier it gets. Because to be frank, the guy who walks out the door is pretty unmasked these days. If anybody knows me, you're like, that you're masking?
No, just me.
Just me. Yeah. So there's that pressure to be the competent business owner, and sometimes I think we do ourselves a disservice by not believing in our own output. And even when we look at it later and go, oh, that's amazing, we should be patting ourselves on the back going, you did good, rather than being amazed that...
Being surprised at the quality of...
look at the quality of what you did.
I'm quite good at this. It's weird, isn't it? Because with that, I get I often feel that pressure to sort of reassure the person that I'm working for that everything's fine. And you have to be careful because if you sound like you're reassuring them, then they're going to start questioning like why you doth protest too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You don't want to. I would love to, you listeners know that I'm not into New Year's resolutions, so do not think I'm daring to do one of those because we're in February and I am absolutely not doing that. But I'm having a rant now. But I would love to get to a point, I will get to a point where what I do is good in my work and I get really good results and I need to just remind myself of that. And there is a version of me that's like, oh, I shouldn't be surprised that I did some good work. I've repeatedly been doing good work for years. Why am I shocked if I write it's not a shock actually, to be fair, but why am I even like, eyebrow raise, that's good. Yes, it is good, Hannah, because you are good at it, and that's why you do it for a job. So that was a little roaming tangent, but...
Well, no, it's interesting because... So I work from home. I have my own studio. I'm lucky enough, I'm privileged enough to have that. And I use the walk up and down the garden to try and let everything go. sometimes it can be difficult, especially with a tricky thing or a conversation that hasn't perhaps gone you carry it, or you just need to let it out. You just need, some of the times I said this to Gemma early in our relationship, it's not that you're responding to me, it's that I'm getting it out. It's like I'm lancing the boil. I just need to say it out loud so that it doesn't seem like I'm an irrational idiot. And just a sense check sometimes is like, am I wrong to think this because of these things? And sometimes the detail is far too granular and specific to my particular industry for Gemma to even... Not saying she can't understand it, but it's like,
not her specialist subject.
I walk into the house and she's listening to a bit of Radio 2 and pottering around, and then I come in and do a trauma dump. And she's like, that sounds terrible, dear. Oh, that's awful. But for me, that's the way of taking the mask off. It's the way that I can just get rid of the residual kind of day in my head. And other days I walk up and I'm as light can be, because I've been designing all afternoon or writing all afternoon and haven't had to do anything particularly what I think of as mentally taxing.
Yeah, and you've touched on a really important point there. Some of the work that I do is not masking at all. Like you were saying, when, designing or sort of really creative elements of work, I'm not having to mask. I think the masking that I do in my day-to-day business is probably some of the communication. If I'm on a business meeting, if I'm on a Zoom call, and now I'm anybody that works with me is going to be like, staring at my face. If I'm on a Zoom call, I'm spending most of that time reminding myself to not pull silly faces or just go start looking at the ceiling like, what am I doing? Because I'm aware that normal people don't do that. So that is masking, right? Because I'm having to look like, don't start stimming or just doing, or kind of obviously thinking about something else. Or whereas a lot of the work I'm doing when I'm writing a blog or I'm writing some content, I'm not masking. It's actually, for me, it's a lot of the communication. You're in business mode, and you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, no. And also being perceived. I struggle with being perceived unless I'm in control of not necessarily the whole entire environment, but the circumstances under which I'm being perceived. And it's, you could argue that the suits are a mask, that they're a front, they're an insulation against the world. And to a certain extent, they are, because they get rid of the idiots really quickly.
A great filtering system.
And our people see it and tends to be a beacon of the shiny for them.
Yeah.
The masking thing can be really, really stressful, especially if you let it come between you and your relationship. I think I was fortunate enough that when I met Gemma, I had both not really been very good at masking anyway. I thought I was terrible. And just gave up on it. Just decided that this would fall into the category of somebody else's problem. I'm slightly more mature now. I realise that, like I said before, having a flexible approach to having a mask can be quite useful, especially if you want to get people to do what you want them to do. And it feels disingenuous, though, doesn't it? Putting on a persona so that the person opposite you it feels manipulative.
I hear what you're saying, and it can feel manipulative, but for me, I put it on and I almost think of it, and this sounds weird, I almost think of it as like work mode Hannah, sensible Hannah. So, okay, I'm in work mode now because my brain needs to understand you're in work mode now.
Oh, you need to be rebranded by Apple.
Yes.
Hannah Pro Pro Max.
Oh my goodness, that would be so good. Apple, if you're listening, somebody important at Apple, I'm there. I'm with you. I think for me, it's kind of, because there is always, sadly, a little tiny gnawing self-doubt sitting on my shoulder going, but you're rubbish at this and they'll find out soon. So my business persona or my business mask is more about, a lot of it's about convincing me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm on sensible work mode. I've got my headphone, whatever I'm doing that puts me into that mindset. Because along with that mindset, comes that confidence to be able to do whatever task I've got to do. So, but it is a mask. And, you know, when we are masking, I mean, this kind of goes nicely into sort of one of the next points to talk about, really. When we are masking, I don't know if you're the same here, but I find that sometimes I hide a lot of my work-related stress within that mask. But it kind of goes into I don't know if I've explained that very well, but it kind of goes into a bit of a pressure cooker, you know, because sensible business Hannah can sort that out. Don't worry, not enough clients. Don't worry, sensible business Hannah will sort that out. But actually, real me does worry about that. That is something with self-employment, that you know, you're not getting handed work. I mean, there's so many benefits, so I won't rattle them off now. But, you know, one of the negative parts of it is that there will invariably be a kind of, have I got enough continuous work going on? For me, that can be a kind of little, you know, a little worry bumbling around in the background.
I think after you've been in business for a long enough time, it reduces to background radiation. You know, it's there, it has an effect, but over the longer term, you're up, you're down.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That does make sense. But so when
doesn't take the stress of it away in the moment. That's not to minimise where you're at now with it.
But I hear what you're saying, because actually, I guess over time you've got that experience that you know, well, okay, you might be in a bit of a drought at the moment, but you know it always turns up. Projects come your way.
I always think of it as the way of the universe giving you a nudge in a new direction.
I like that.
Over the last 2 years, a particular source of work from a particular customer group has pretty much dried up. And I was going to run at it harder. I was like, no, you need more exposure, you need to do all the rest of it. And it's like, no, it's dried up. The puddle is reduced to a point where
just dust, Stu.
It's dust, yeah. You know.
So what do you, Stuart, if you've got any work related stresses, worries, are you able to keep that within sort of work mode, Stu?
No.
Or does that leak into your, you know, into your family or your sort of, you know?
No, I always try to be in good standing with my customers. I try not to let the sun set on an intractable problem or an uttered piece of feedback that's negative. You know, you get them from time to time. I will always try and, at the very least, feel like I've put my best case back before the end of the day, and that helps. But I think for me, the stress doesn't come from the problems. I accepted a long time ago that my job as a business owner is to problem solve. That's it. I've solved problems for my customers. I solve problems for myself. If I think that I'm going to have a problem-free existence, that worries me, because if you don't have any problems, you don't have any problems to fix. And if my customers don't have any problems to fix, how can I be relevant to them? So it's not that there are problems, whether they're in my business, with business, or with my customers and their businesses. Mine is rumination on prior outcomes or future desired outcomes. Just the constant turning of the problem around and around and around in your head like a washing machine, and it never stops. It never goes away. It's like a constant laundry list of these problems, and your mind returns to them over and over and over again. And that's what I've found as be a stress in your personal relationships, because you're not present.
Yeah. Do you talk about that stuff with your family? I mean, for me, my family, my kids and my husband have no clue. Like, you could get them in this room now and say, hello, Hannah's family, what does Hannah do for work? And they'd be like, oh, I think she writes stuff. One of them would tell you I build websites. I don't, but I have, because that's probably the last thing they remember me doing. I think my husband would have no clue at all. So my point being, bit of a tangent, as we all know that I can do. My point being, it's a problem for me, but I don't talk about my work with my family. I don't. Occasionally I'll say, oh, I wrote a really good blog, or I'm building this thing, whatever, but very rarely. So not only am I not sharing what I do, but I'm not sharing any of that internal stress that I have as well, which can't be a good thing.
But no, you see, I think that's the key to it. It doesn't matter whether it's that part of your life or your business part of your life or whatever. I just never decided that I was going to be selective with what I showed up with my wife, mostly because she'll be the first person to tell you that Stuart just has no guile. I just don't have a filter. It broke, and I don't know when.
I like it. I mean, we've touched on this a bit, but obviously a really key part of this is supportive partners. You know, having supportive people in your life and understanding what you're like you've explained with your wife and stuff. But remembering that those people aren't mind readers. So even if they are deeply supportive, they can't, as I'm thinking this, or as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, I need to do this, Hannah. They can't, if they don't understand what's actually going on and happening under the surface, they can't be supportive. So actually, I think it is about kind of making sure you are being really transparent with them. And like we said before, that doesn't mean trauma dumping, like, we've got no money, we're all going to be homeless. You don't want to throw that chaos at your family. And also, one would hope that that doesn't just happen in a minute, you know, that there's a lead up to that kind of terrible stuff. But that you know, if we work backwards from that, it's about being transparent and honest, and then you can get that support that you need from your loved ones, because you're both just being really honest, or you're all just being really honest and transparent with each other. And being truthful about what support you need. I mean, you might be the kind of person that doesn't need a lot of regular reassurance, but maybe the support is just knowing that they trust you to know what you're doing and get on with it. Does that make sense?
Oh, a bad relationship will undermine a business.
Yeah.
I've seen it up close and personal way too many times. The partner who's not supportive of the vision of life that this entrepreneur wants to build and create, and I just can't see as that sustainable. If you're being undermined in your own home, where every time you turn up and you're like, you want to share, and this speaks to the heart of it. And this problem is maybe not as prevalent as it used to be, but it's still definitely doing the rounds in the networking scene. The success at all costs. How are you doing? I'm doing fine. It's brilliant. We're just one of the best
Winning.
months. Smashing it. You know, when's the last time you said to somebody, how are you doing? It's been shit. Well, actually, recently, I've had those conversations a little bit more. You know, people are like, you know, it's cold out there. It's bad out there. It's, you know, what have you. But it used to be that, you know, if you weren't nobody wants to do business with a misery gut. So you're successful by default. Now, you take that and put that in the home, and the pressure to be successful and not share the authentic, like, it's a bit shit and I'm a bit worried because my partner might leave me or might judge me, or, you know, add any of the self-doubts that you want to. The point to it is you have to be able to say to your partner, this is where we are, this is an honest reflection, we're going to have to cut back for the next 2 months because we've got a cash flow, blah. And the other person accepting that and not suddenly going, oh, well, why didn't you work harder? Why didn't you do this?
Yeah.
And suddenly making it all your fault because they believe that you are working in their best interests and have been doing all of the hardest work. It's just the nature of the beast.
It's that trusting in you, isn't it? That I think I have a lot of that in my family, that I don't think they're hugely interested in what I do. And I don't take that as, you know, I'm not offended by that. We're a family of people that are all kind of in our little own worlds a lot of the time. It's just the way that we work together, and it works really well. But I think they do also just trust me to crack on with it. You know, they know that if there's a problem, I'll put my hand up, and if there isn't, I just go about my business.
Ultimately, I think the best thing that you've got is they support you in your endeavours. Whether they understand your endeavours, that's almost immaterial. I never really understood what my dad did. but having the ability to come home and just be himself.
Yeah.
I never got the feeling that my dad masked much, really.
No.
He was a bit of an engineering nerd, and he spent all his day with engineering nerds, and then came home to an engineering nerd as a son.
Just comfortable all round, really.
So, I think I do think that families can change the dynamic outcome of business owners or an entrepreneur. Especially when because that support can sometimes feel like pressure of I don't want to let them down. I had that really bad when the Ents business went bust.
Yeah.
I just felt like I'd absolutely spoiled everything. We had to sell the bloody house. Doesn't get much more real than that. At the time, it felt like the necessary and quickest way we could prevent economic catastrophe. Personally, it felt like I'd let everyone down. We were having to sell a family home that we'd renovated, and it was fitting our needs perfect.
Yeah, and putting that pressure, I think, as a lot of us can be really quite perfectionist. And I wonder if there's quite a bit of your own, putting your own pressure on yourself, because you've got a really understanding, supportive family. But I wonder if a lot of that inner criticism or shame or whatever you were feeling.
I have an extremely harsh inner voice.
Yeah.
Really, I let it out sometimes. And Gemma's like, that's a terrible thing to think about yourself. Yeah. And I'm like, and I think to some degree, that's how I got good at dealing with hecklers. Because in my teenage years...
Your parents were hecklers.
Yeah, I got really good at comebacks. When my dad's like, oh, you're going out like that, are you?
Your whole childhood was hecklers. It's grown you into the magnificence that you are today.
I'm having this realisation in the moment. I think also what's worked for our family is understanding those boundaries that are there as well.
Yeah.
So I'm terrible for this non-stop business talk. But then everybody I know is in business. All of the people around me are in business. I deal with small businesses. It's very difficult when we go out to not bump into somebody that I do not know locally through business. Which can make socialising a challenge. And I wonder sometimes if it makes me feel a bit standoffish because I'm in an environment where other people are and I just don't want to talk to them. And that's not on them. It's just like I'm sick and fed up of...
Yeah, you want a break from the business.
I just need a break from the business, And I think that having a boundary around that with your significant other, your family... both ways, that you are allowed to talk to it about it, but should really know when to shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels
how's that in your house? How does that work?
Well, we just don't talk about... So my husband is employed, and I think he probably has a really rather stressful job. He's quite high up the food chain in that company, and he just doesn't talk about it. Occasionally, we both work from home, so occasionally I'll hear him ranting on a call to his boss usually, and then later I might say, oh, have you had a bit of a rough day? And he'll say, well, work's just a bit shit sometimes. And that's the end of the conversation. And it's not eating him up inside. He's incredibly good at compartmentalising this stuff. So he's like, that was rubbish, but that's work. The laptop gets shut at 6 o'clock, 5:30, whatever it is. It never haunts him again. Until the next morning he might think, oh, I had that annoying chat with my boss yesterday. So I'm a very different type of animal. I don't talk about it because, well, generally my work's not that stressful, to be fair. I don't work full time and I work from home and I'm my own boss, so who doesn't love all of that? So if I've had an idiot client, I might say to Steve, oh, that bloody idiot from blah, 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 and he'll say, oh, and he'll do a little bit of, oh dear, just tell him to sod off. But it's not, there's never that angst conversations, I'm not the main breadwinner in our family, which I appreciate is a very fortunate position to be in. So it's not, if I lost all my work tomorrow, which would be rubbish, but we're not going to be, we're not going to have to start eating dust from the gardens. So, I'm incredibly fortunate in that situation. So maybe that's why I'm not having those kind of conversations. I don't know.
I think it's also up to each individual partnership what they discuss and knowing where those boundaries are and respecting them. I think that a healthy outlet sometimes is a third person who maybe understands a little bit more about it, like a trusted friend where you can just ramble on. I've got several friends who are self-employed or business owners, so you can sometimes vent to them in a little more detail that gives the context to the response of they sound like bloody idiots, a little more weight than your partner who doesn't get any of it and is also almost honour bound to say they're bloody idiots.
Because I often talk to you about business stuff because I really value your opinion, and you are much further along in experience in the kind of work that we do than I am. But also you'll say something really, sensible is the wrong word, but if I say, oh, this happened, that's annoying because now I've got to do this, you'll say, well, did you think about doing it this way? Or you'll say something, because I do, when I'm having that vent, I'm not somebody that just wants to be stroked like, oh, poor you. I'm a solutions person.
Yes, you see,
I want a solution.
That's the thing, is if I'm letting something out, just letting it out can sometimes be okay. Just like this bloody thing happened, blah,
just
blah, 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 blah.
Download the rubbish,
But sometimes you actually want somebody to go, actually, you made a mistake here, or if you'd have done this thing here, or to prevent that from... I just get the sense that sometimes when people vent to their partner, they're doing it just to vent.
Just to offload
and
in a way.
Sometimes Gemma, she just says to me, she'll walk out the room and go, you don't need me for this bit, do you? Just so brutal, but so honest. Just like, you don't actually need me here. And at times I've gone like, no, and I've carried on, just letting it out. Just because, like, if I don't, my brain will just run it round in a loop until I say it.
To leave down. Do you ever, this is going to be embarrassing if you say no. Do you ever have, so I have two-sided conversations. So I'll go into my husband's office in our house and be like, oh, this just happened and bloody, and then I will have his side of the conversation. But it will be said as one conversation, but I'll be answering my own questions. So he's been invited into a conversation where I've not let him speak, and I've said, so I've said, this idiot said that they're not going to pay me till I do this, and then I say the reply to that, and then I say the next bit, and in the end you can see him thinking, you're just having the whole conversation on your own. It's really weird.
Sitting there eating popcorn.
Yeah, but I'll come to more often than not, I'll just come to a conclusion and feel fine and then leave. Like, and sometimes I've said thank you for that, and he said, I didn't say a word, honey. You didn't let me get a word in, but I needed an audience.
Just need to get it out.
I needed an audience while I downloaded.
Lance the boil. Get
really
rid of it.
Weird. It works though. You have to do what
but
works.
That's the point, isn't it? It's like being self-employed because you're neurodiverse gives you the opportunity to guess what? Be neurodiverse. So if that's how you let the pressure out, and your partner's like, I'm glad I could help. The phrase, I'm glad I could help, Gemma has said to me so many times when all I've done is go off on a trauma dump.
Yeah,
and they said so-and-so, so what would you have done? Yeah, I know what you'd have done. I did. So I'm hearing exactly the same thing, It's like, and I do this, and I say, and release. End scene. And Gemma's like, thank you for that.
It's probably quite fascinating to watch. I have conversations. I was trying to record something last night. I told this to you earlier when we were off air, but I was trying to record something and I kept messing it up. And I was berating but not in a kind of self-flagellation, but I was like, I would do a bit, then be like, oh my God, Hannah, it's not complicated. Just do it properly. And then I'd do it again. Oh my God. And in the end, one of my family, I think it was my daughter, called up the stairs. Are you all right up there? Because I was literally arguing with myself. But I didn't feel upset or angry or stressy. It was really weird. It was a kind of therapy argument that I was having with myself that ended up...
therapy argument?
It was really weird. By the end of it, I'd talked myself off the ledge. It was like I'd gone full circle.
That's the old Monty Python sketch, isn't it? I've come for here for an argument.
Yeah. I think I'm going to get, there's going to be an intervention at some point because I'm admitting so much on this podcast. I'll get home and they'll be like, Hannah, can you come there's a special van outside you've admitted that you've been talking to yourself, arguing with yourself.
Well, I was arguing with myself about turkeys in Sainsbury's. You can imagine that, can't you? A man standing
Everyone
in front.
watching at you.
Standing in front, like me doing the maths out loud of, right, so if we've got 7, that's going to be 14, but then it's going to fit in the oven. I've got to get the goose fat as well. People just like staring at
the managers in the background, like, hello, Maureen, we've got one of them on aisle 3.
It doesn't help.
He's ranting at the turkeys.
It doesn't help when you're in a bright red suit with Christmas decorations all over it.
It's like you'd escaped from somewhere and they were like, okay, can you just dial? Can you
Bing
dial,
bong,
please?
Maureen, will you escort the traumatised neurodiverse man in the outfit out of the meat aisle, please?
Oh
Bing
my
bong.
gosh. Oh, that's so good. That is so good.
So I think the final point here is that if you are able to, and you have a relationship where the lines of communication are clear, and that's not necessarily just the relationship in your personal life. That's if you've got a business partner, like to a certain extent, we're partners in this, and I keep open lines of communication at all times because you need to know where I'm at, not only in terms of the work, but also in terms of capacity to do upcoming work, and you manage my incapacity at times extremely well, and I really appreciate it.
Likewise, it works vice versa, doesn't it?
But that's that I'm hoping the point is that you can lean on me for the things that maybe are stressing you or you need help with, and that allows for a much it's a much easier life. Just saying what you mean. People out there, neurotypicals, please just say what you mean. We won't be offended. In actual fact, we'll shake you by the hand. We won't shake you by the hand. We won't touch you. We won't want to look in your eye.
We'll nod at you.
We'll nod sagely as we stand alongside you going, see, you don't have to allude. You don't have to use similes or analogies or, hopefully people will read between the lines. No, just say what you want.
Yeah, it's much. I still have to remind myself that there are people in my life that do just say it as it is, and it's so refreshing. But I think I've had a lifetime of people kind of alluding and a bit of gaslighting.
I'd much rather somebody shout at me for 2 minutes and it's done and we're able to move on than to somebody to basically be backstabbing me for years and years and gaslighting you. No, 100%. And I think over the years I have got rid of all those people. Yeah. The people who are significant in my life are people I absolutely implicitly trust to tell me when I'm an idiot to my face. And they trust that I'm not going to start waving my arms around and getting bent out of shape. If I've been an idiot, I need to hear that. Yeah. And I need to either own it and apologise or explain that perhaps we were coming...
Yeah, you weren't trying to be an idiot. Yeah.
I was an accidental idiot, my lad.
But it's... I remember somebody saying to me once, it must be one of my many therapists, shout out to therapist number 25 if you're listening, I was complaining about somebody in my life, it was many years ago, and they said, but have you told that person that this bothers you? And I said, no, because that will cause drama. And they said, But then you're expecting them to do something, but you've never explained to them. And, that you've not told them how you need this or why you need this done or whatever it is. But the point being, when you're really honest, and it can be really difficult. Sometimes it's really difficult to be really honest because it's a very vulnerable state to be in.
True.
But when you are being really honest, everyone knows where they stand. And and when you understand each other really well, my husband knows that I can have a meltdown that will last 10 minutes of me just ranting up and down the hallway, ranting about this idiot and that idiot. But at the end of it, I will have worked through it and I'll be smiling and laughing again. And he's now learned just watch and get the popcorn and watch, because it comes to its own natural end. Do not try and intervene. Do not try and don't be silly me, because that blows it up even bigger.
Being told I'm wrong.
Just stand back. I'm a firework. Stand back. I burn out eventually. It might be messy to watch and it might be a bit awkward for everybody listening, but it goes. And then I'm like, anyway, who wants a cup of tea? So that's the point, isn't it? Just being honest. One of the takeouts from this is being honest. When you're honest to the people around you, everyone's understanding each other, and it just makes life.
We jokingly call the listeners the Odd Squad, but surely having the ability to be a bit odd, bit strange, bit weird, do things in your own way, to walk out your problems, talk them through without anyone else being in the room, and at the same time expecting input. All of those things are whatever they need to be to allow you to have a more balanced mental health situation, rather than bottling it all up inside and oh God, the endless listing and rumination and kind of scorekeeping and guilting and shaming. Oh, that internal maelstrom that if you can't let it out, just drives you nuts. Absolutely does.
Absolutely. I remember my husband, once I was having a meltdown quite a long time ago, my husband sort of shouted, "I don't know what you want." And I shouted back, "I don't know what I want."
That's two of us.
We have that in common. And then at that point, I think he realised that, because he's a real fixer, he realised, oh, she doesn't want this to be fixed. This is a process that she needs to go through a little, she needs the firework to burn out.
Yeah.
And then usually, sometimes then I need to go and lick my wounds, or other times I'm like, oh, it was nothing. It's a storm in a teacup type situation. So
the one that Jem's learned over the years not to interfere is when I know I'm being an idiot.
Yes.
When I know I'm walking my idiocy out and about, proudly being a proud, out the closet idiot, taking it around, wandering it up and down. It's usually very funny, and it ends very self-deprecating, and I have to accept and own it. But it's like I need the ego to just deflate, like by just talking it out, the ego response, to get to the learning, moving forward from it bit.
It is so true. My son said to me, we were having a heart-to-heart the other week, and my son said, because we were talking about in general, we were talking about emotional regulation or a lack of it sometimes in my case. And he said, "Mum, when I was younger, we knew that you would just have these moments," as they like to refer to them, these moments. And he said, "But it never," and I said, "I'm really sorry, that must have been difficult for you." And he said, "No, it never really bothered me, because you'd have a go at me, and then by the time you'd walked out of my bedroom back to the kitchen, you'd come back and say, 'Sorry, I was a total arsehole just then. I didn't mean any of what I just said. I'm having a really bad day.'" And he said, "And I knew that although it wasn't ideal that you'd have a go, I knew that you'd own it."
Yeah.
He said, you taught me it's really, really important to own it. When you know you're being a dick.
Yes.
And so he said, I knew that you didn't mean it, and although it, could be hurtful sometimes, I was like, oh, she's having one of those. She's on one of those.
Yeah.
And so I'm not advocating that you shout at somebody then, and apologise, because at the end of the day, if you've been a dick and then you apologise, you still will have hurt that person to some degree.
Yeah, you've still been a dick.
You're still being a dick. As my husband says, it doesn't erase the dickness, does it, just by apologising? But actually being able to recognise when you are being an idiot and then own it and apologise is huge. And I never used to do that. It's only been in recent years that I've really been able to differentiate when I'm being completely, because I'm very capable of it. I know that's a surprise to anybody listening, but, to actually understand when I am being an idiot and own it, that's a bit of a game changer for me, but slightly off topic.
Well, no, it's not. It's not really, because ultimately, and this is the beauty of self-employment, it covers every aspect of your life, because you're living your life. So whether you've got staff, whether you've got no staff, whether this is the first day in the job, you're still dealing. Your neurodiversity doesn't switch off because of where you are on your career progression or in your relationship. So it's, I think for me, the Business Oddcast is all about exploring the human side of this, not just the business person, not just the neurodiverse person, but the human inside that's dealing with all of this, so that other people can go, it's just a human dealing with things in their own way. But let's not minimise that. Let's accept it. And what can we do to get the best out of it for everyone? I think that's the mission statement right there. Yeah,
absolutely. There's nothing more healing than that kind of sense of group empathy, of knowing that there are other people out there nodding along when you're explaining something.
So, if there's anything that you've heard that you want to add to, anything that you've heard that you disagree implicitly with and has had you shouting at the radio, we want to hear it. We want to hear all sides of this.
Stu wants to hear it.
I do.
I'll start crying and saying, why don't you love me?
I'll just think of some comebacks, don't you worry. I don't care about heckling. I really don't care. My friend said to me the other day, he said, you walk about like you really don't care what other people think. And he said, and I've learned over 30 years that it's because you really don't care what other people think. He was referring, of course, to my inimitable style, not my just general attitude. It's like, you really don't care about it, do you? It's like people are stopping and staring at you. Let them. It's the free world.
So freeing, though. That's literally my life goal.
It takes a while to get there. It really does. So what takeaways do you think you'll be taking away?
So what takeaways are we taking away?
Yes.
Oh, well, I think for me the big one is that kind of authenticity that we've touched on quite a bit. Just being your true self and knowing that support works best when your needs are kind of, when you've outlined your needs, everybody understands what you need from them. Can I say need any more times?
Needy need.
I'm a needy need over here. Boundaries, again, we've touched on boundaries loads over our episodes, but they are massively integral. I think probably, 48 of the years of my 51 years of life have been fairly unboundaried through, trying to fit in, not being all of that trauma. So, just when you are boundarying yourself, everybody else, and respecting everybody else's boundaries too, then everything works much more smoothly.
And those boundaries don't have to be like applied with an iron fist, but that you can gently remind people of these things. And usually I find that when you are having to heavily underline the boundary, you've let it slip for too long. You've let the behaviour go on for a little too long, and it's irritated you, so therefore you feel like because the other person doesn't know it's been going on. That's what you've got to remind yourself from their point of view. They didn't know that, or they shouldn't know. If they do and they keep doing it, then you say goodbye to those people, especially if they're customers.
Yes, you're like, off you sod.
Yes.
I think also, I'm a very intuitive person, and sometimes I know, this sounds quite arrogant, sorry, sometimes I know kind of what's going on in my kids' brains a little bit before they do. And that is a talent to some degree. So it's one of the things that I pride myself on. But also for those around me, and this is unfortunate for them, I kind of assume they're the same. So I'm expecting my husband to know exactly why I'm pissed off with him. And he's got a blank face like, I don't know, I just did nothing. I was in the other room on my own. But so it's, not assuming that everyone knows exactly what's going on in your brain, just articulating the way that you feel. And also dropping the mask at home. it makes your self-employment much more sustainable. Like you touched it on it, Stu. Being self-employed allows us to work with our energies, work with our emotions, so much freedom. I mean, no, I was being bummed out on it earlier in this episode, but it's still for the win for me, 100%. I only started to live comfortably when I became self-employed and wasn't locked into the parameters of the expectations and the 9-to-5s, which I could never fit into. So make the most of that, because it's a magnificent place to be if you've got the right boundaries in place and those loved ones and support network around you, so that it's sustainable for you.
One thing I would say is having a supportive spouse, especially where finances may be arranged, in the short term especially, a frank conversation needs to be had early on about expectations, because I've seen, again, in the opposite direction, way too many relationships ruined by somebody going, I'm self-employed, and then them only ever wanting to ever do that at the cost of somebody else having a full-time job. So I can see the push and the rub on both sides of that line, and that's why I think that the self-employment side of it, you need that conversation. You need to have an honest appraisal, and you need to set expectations that, look, this is going to be tough for 2, maybe 3 years. And these are my goals, and then review them regularly with your partner so that they feel like they're bought into them, rather than hitching their wagon to a thing that they're not quite sure
An
what
unreliable
the hell's going on.
Money earner.
Yeah, exactly. I think over the years, Gemma's sort of felt associated with the chaos rather than amidst and among it. But I've always tried my best to inform her where, when we had the money issues, she knew it as soon as I knew it, pretty much. There's a small grey area where you try and figure out the best way of softening the blows of everything.
Yeah.
If I was going to give some takeaways, some tips, some ideas, Firstly, I think you need to put some boundaries in place and agree them with your partner about where and when you will discuss things. Even if it's, look, I'm not going to put a container around it, but if I say to you, honey, not right now, there has to be that give and take. Otherwise, you just corrode the goodwill in the relationship. I also think that you need to also explain to your partner why you may necessarily need to just get stuff off your chest without any input back. I'm not looking for solutions. I'm not looking for a strategy or approval. I'm just asking you to bear witness to the info trauma dump that's about to unfold.
Just want you to record it in your eyeballs. I don't need any input, advice, unsolicited, especially the what I call time machine advice. Well, if you'd done this, then I say, unless you have a fucking time machine and you can take me back to where I messed up last week and we can redo, then you need to shut up. Sorry, that was a lot of swearing in one sentence, wasn't it? You can tell, listeners, that I've been there a few times.
It's got in touch with your inner trauma there. So I think there's a lot there for you to think about, take away, digest. How do you deal with your stress in your business, in your relationship? How do you deal with your neurodiversity? We'd love to know. Tell us.
Tell us. Please do.
Please get in touch. So, Hannah, next week, what's the topic?
Well, Stuart, next week. I don't know why I put that voice on. Well, Stuart. Sound a bit like, I'm not going to say who I thought I sounded like. Rewind, Hannah. Next week is a dirty word for a lot of us. Delegation. Delegation. I was going to break into... What's that? Delegation's what you need.
Delegation, that's what you need.
Yes. Who was it? I can't remember.
Guinness Book of Records, wasn't it?
Oh, I miss Norris McWhirter.
Norris and Ross McWhirter, yeah. Not Cliff Richard. Roy Castle.
Oh, yeah. Roy. Oh, I missed him on the trumpet, yeah. Sorry, everybody. So
tangent.
Oh, I love all that.
Oh, I love a bit of Roy Castle.
Me too.
Oh, bless him.
I missed that
Loved
guy.
him in the Carry On films.
Right, sorry. Back to sensible Hannah, back on. Delegation for control freaks and the overwhelmed. Delegation is a thing, people, and we're going to talk you through it next week.
And we're going to tell you the difference between delegation and abdication.
Oh, yeah.
Because way too many times customers come to me and it's abdication of responsibility they're after, not delegation of the tasks.
Yeah.
So
it's a good one. You need to check back in with us next week and listen to that.
Definitely. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Tell anyone that you like. Link to any topics that we've got multiples of on the website. You know, we've got, we're 20 odd episodes in now.
Yeah,
so
23, I think.
23, yeah. So there's a lot to choose from. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Share your top tips with us and get in touch. Don't forget to sign up on the businessoddcast.com. Sign up on businessoddcast.com and we will update you infrequently via email about what's coming up. Thanks very much. Thanks for joining us and we'll see you again next week.
As always, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Step away from PAYE. Don't do it.